everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Woolly Witch of the West videocast. I'm Madeline. You can find me on Instagram as the Woolly Witch of the West, on Ravelry as WoolyWitchotWest. I'm also on Facebook, both with Fox and Spider Arts, where you can see more of my fibercraft as well as silly comic illustrations, and the Woolery Mammoth yarn shop out of Eureka, Montana. So as you can see, I'm back in the shop again today. I got some feedback that the light was a lot better here. That's definitely true. The shop has far more windows than my little cabin out in the woods, so I'm gonna try shooting from here. And it's a little bit earlier in the day, so I may or may not be interrupted. I'm also recording on my iPad as opposed to my iPhone, so we're trying out different things to see what's gonna work best. So bear with me with all of that. I am also going completely off the cuff today. I don't have any notes with me. So any patterns, I know the names of them, but I don't know the author. I will be sure to link to those patterns and give credit due in the show notes, which will be below, as well as with the links to various ways to reach me. So yeah. The first thing I wanted to say, which is something that I haven't really done before, is I want to give a shout out and a thank you to my patrons on Patreon. I don't have an independent Patreon for this video cast specifically. It's something that I kind of started up on a whim, partially because of the work my spouse Creature and I are doing through Patreon. So just a little bit about us is that Fox and Spider Arts is my spouse Beast and I deciding that we just wanted to give it kind of a go as artists, and we had thought about different ways to do this individually for many years, and we're both definitely kind of eclectic artists, so Fox and Spider Arts is kind of everything all at once. So all of my knitting and spinning and fiber dyeing and all of that, as well as all of my illustrations, comic work, and painting. My spouse Creature does really gorgeous, intricate tattoo designs and multimedia paper artwork, illustrations of mythical beasts, and the like. So if any of that sounds fun to you, you can check us out on Facebook. That's the Fox and Spider Arts. That's what that is. We are also on Patreon. We do also have a webpage now, foxandspiderarts.com, which we are currently, it's under construction, so it's not completely done, but we will have blogs and a gallery up there eventually. What Patreon is that they get everything kind of first and access to us. It's kind of like an ongoing artist salary. So people give like $1 a month to get to see all of our work first and see what we have for sale first if they wanted to put a bid on it and things like that. So you can check us out there. And that's my plug. That's done. I just had realized in past videos that I hadn't said thank you to the people who are already supporting us. And there are people already supporting us, which means the world to me and gives us a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to things like buying supplies and stuff. So it's great. So thank you to all of you. So like I said, I don't have notes. I'm just going completely off the cuff today. So hopefully I'm not going to ramble too much. So yeah, I'm forgetting the order that I usually do things. And so I think I'm going to talk about works in progress first, and then finished items, and then finished spinning and future spin stuff kind of at the end. Is how I'm going to do the show today, so we'll work on that. So for things that I have in progress, I did not finish this guy. I showed you him in pieces. I've gotten a little further on this guy. So this is the Allosaurus, the baby Allosaurus that I'm knitting, or crocheting actually, for my nephew Owen from hand spun that was fiber that we dyed together with food coloring one day last year, which was really fun. I'm gonna chop his head back off and stuff his body a little bit more. He's looking a little skinny. He looks a little more like an alligator to me right now, but he doesn't have his teeth in. Here's one of his little legs, so he ends up with like great big legs and feet. And I did get one of his feet done. And he's weighted in the bottom. Or at least that's the idea. I'm kind of torn on whether or not I'm going to go back, and you're supposed to weight him with steel beads, and I don't know. I don't actually know how I feel about that, because Owen is 6, and he's a good kid, but he also has twin siblings who are little, and all I could imagine is someone picking this up and whacking one of the other kids with it, so he may not be as good at standing up as I originally thought he would be, because I don't actually want to put anything that hard or heavy in him. He's a stuffy. He should be cuddly and not able to damage 2-year-olds if they picked him up and whacked him with it. So I'm using yarn that I did when I was new to spinning, and I really was just kind of going, and I had jumped into it and dyed things and spun things. So one thing I hadn't thought about really is that he is crocheted with singles. So I don't know how long this dinosaur is gonna last, if I'm honest. So I think what I'm gonna do after I stuff him is that I'm gonna full him at least, or maybe slightly felt him, put him in some hot water, and then move him to some cold, put him back in hot, rub him around a little bit, and see if I can get some of the fabric to firm up a little bit, and I think that will also firm up his stuffing a little bit more, so he's a little bit firmer. And I do have more stuffing at the shop. That's kind of what stopped me, is that the feet you have to stuff as you go. And the other thing that stopped me from finishing him is of the stuff that I spun, this is what I have left, which is not enough to do another one of those giant feet in his little tiny arms. But luckily I had some more, so I spun up some more, and there it is. And I had to really concentrate to try and get this to be a similar weight, and I still think I didn't do a very good job. At some points it's a little thick and thin from me trying to spin a thicker single again, because I've been working my way in my spinning towards a fine and even spin, because I want to be able to eventually spin fine enough that I can get a sock weight, get a fingering weight, and have enough yardage from the fiber that I pick up to do fingering weight shawls or lighter weight things, especially as we get into spring and summer. That's more what I'm going to want to knit. So that's been my goal, and I had to backtrack a little with this. But luckily I had some that I hadn't spun up yet from the same stuff that we dyed. So he will be finished soon. And I just love this little pattern with the divots for his eyes. He's so cute. So I'll be sure to link the pattern in the show notes before. I don't know if I did last time. I think I linked to the listing on Ravelry. The pattern is actually through Etsy. So it is a paid pattern, and it is so cute. And they do all sorts of other animals. There's one. I got a pattern. I'm going to make it for my spouse beast in secret. So I don't know if I'm going to talk about it on this video cast or not. That's a dilemma I've been having. I'm already thinking about Christmas or Yuletide or whichever winter solstice as holiday you like to celebrate. We do the solstice and Christmas and kind of everything all on top of it, really, but mostly the solstice. What am I going to do? Because that's going to be all that I knit for months. I'll just have to, like, honor system it. I'll say someone's name and expect you to leave the room for at least 5 minutes while I go on about what I'm making for you or something. I don't know. I'll ban certain people from watching my video cast, but then I don't know if anyone would watch it, so who knows. Anywho, that's the Allosaurus. His belly isn't as even as I thought it was. I'm really excited for him to be done, but I can't ship him until after the first of the month anyways, so I'm not feeling too stressed about that. The other thing go on tangents more when I don't have notes. The other thing that I've been knitting on that I've been really excited about is that I did finish one of my goal knits. So I allowed myself to cast on my hand spun from the Mother of All Woolworks, which is Siri Larson here from Eureka, Montana. So this is a local sheep. It was locally milled and locally dyed, and I spun it here. So it's Eureka yarn. It's very cool. And this is a merino Rambouillet 50/50, and it is super squishy. I think I might really like Rambouillet. I'm going to try and find some that is just Rambouillet and see if that's what it is. It's not as like silky soft as just straight merino is, but this yarn is just it gives it a lot of character having the blend. So I cast on and I worked a little bit. Oh, the autofocus on this is really good, actually. So what this is just a 4-row garter stitch edge and then a linen stitch, because I thought the colors would work really well with a linen stitch, and I think I like it a lot. And I've been wanting to do a project with linen stitch for a long time. I thought I might do a scrap project with linen stitch to get the variation and the color in the rows, but this yarn kind of does it all for me all together. And I am gonna take this all out probably and recast it on larger needles. These are 8s. I think I might do 10s, just to get a little bit more open fabric instead of something that's quite so dense. And it's just gonna be a cowl, I've decided, and if no one loves it, I know my grandma makes fun of me all the time. I'm trying to do this artist thing, but anything I knit, I want to do for myself. I might have to keep this, though, because I say that about everything, though. Everything I knit, I love. But I really do like the bright colors. It's super saturated, so did that. I'm going to rip it all out and start over. And I ended up with about 215 yards of this stuff, which is, it's not great. I got 13 wraps per inch, so it's about a sports weight. And this is Navajo plied or chain plied, and that isn't something I've done an awful lot of, so I'm pretty happy. My joins are getting a little bit smoother, although I can still, there's one right there. I can tell where they happened, where the chain loop ended. And some of them are better than others, and it's not really even. And I got a little bit of barber pulling between some colors, but I am just really happy with it. I like it a lot. So there's that. That's what I'm knitting on right now. And finished projects. Ta-da! One of my accountability knits. Here are my smog socks. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the woman who wrote this pattern. It's part of an ebook on Ravelry, socks to get you there and back again, that are all Lord of the Ring themed socks, so I love it. I think I'm going to knit the rest of the socks from that particular ebook. I love this scale pattern that comes up the outside of the toes, and the cable goes across the top of the toes. It does make them squish a little. They want to kind of curl. I haven't blocked these yet. I don't tend to block socks, I just kind of wear them. I haven't worn them yet because one of my feet is in a brace from, did I tell you guys about that? I took a fall on the ice, I think before I even started this podcast this winter, and I tore the ligaments on the outside of my foot, so I haven't worn my hand knit socks lately because I have to wear fluffy socks on one foot for the brace. But there they are. And they are so fun, and they remind me of armor, they remind me of dragon scales. They're definitely the fanciest socks I've ever made. So I'm pretty happy with that. And these were knit on size 1 needles, US size of course. Sorry, metric people out there. I don't know what the millimeters on that are right off the top of my head. 2.5, right in there. And I knit them with Regia Super Stretch yarn, which is nothing's super fancy, but I really am happy with it. And I've heard from other knitters who I really trust that Regia sock yarn just wears really well, which is what I want from my socks anyways. So there we are. Socks off the needles. I'm still working on my January socks. They're here with me. I should have dug them out, but I didn't think to at the beginning as well. But those are almost knee-length socks because they're knit with a Zauberball, and I'm using just the entire thing because I really like the longer socks. So those are taking me a little bit longer, but I have made progress on those as well, so they'll be done soon. And the other thing that I finished this week is kind of a larger project. Gwen, who I have mentioned before, is a friend of mine who lives over in Boston, and he and his husband are avid fiber folk as well, and we are doing a swap. So he is making me from the little snippets he's let me see, a really beautiful beaded lace shawl, which is not something that I have ever even made myself, so I'm really touched that someone would put the time and energy to make something like that for me. And we had hand spun in the shop that was for sale in this very witchy purples and browns and blacks and orange. Oh my, it's Halloween. It's the ultimate Halloween yarn, and it was done thick and thin. It was bulky, so it was a very quick knit. And this is, can I hold it back enough? It shows a little better this way. This is it's a Shrug, and you can find this, I think the pattern was originally from Lion Brand. It's just called the Basic Shrug. You can see my seam there a little bit. But it looks a little rustic anyway, so I didn't really try and hide the seam. I think it gives it a little bit of character. So this is a really easy pattern. It's free, so I don't feel bad telling you any of the details about it. Sorry. Fiber Arts Videocast, what can you do? We're always covered in wool. And so this is just knit in one long rectangle, and you do 2x2 ribbing, and then you knit a long rectangle, and then you seam it to get these sleeves. And it fits me very well, so if you don't like it, you feel free to send it back. It's very cozy. So it's loose and kind of oversized. He is very, very tall, so I went for length more than width, so it doesn't have long sleeves. The sleeves on me turn out about 3/4 almost, but he is quite a bit taller than me and longer than me, so it's there. And then you just seam. Really simple construction, really fun yarn. I did this up on, I think, 11th. The bulky yarn. There's lots of texture in here. And this is the yarn was dyed and spun. It's a Prairie Winds Dreamscapes hand spun, which I believe is a local Montana artist. I don't know if they're still making yarns anymore. The yarn was in our discontinued sale. So I just nabbed up all of the yardage of this particular colorway that we had. So there's about 726 yards in this. I would that I had 800 yards, but the final skein was kind of the leftover, so it didn't quite have 200 yards in this skein. Which is how she sells it, which is for bulky yarn was really, really generous. So there it is, and that's really fun. So that will be going out after the 1st in the mail, Gwen, and there may be some other goodies there too. Who knows what will come in the mail. So there's that one. If anybody else wants to do swaps with me, I'm so down for swaps. I will knit you things. If you knit me things, I can send you fiber. I have one friend in Canada, Michaela, who has generously sent me a fiber care package, and I need to send her one back. I'm sorry that's taken me so long. And I will talk about the contents of that goodie kit in the next show, because I'm kind of working my way through a few things, and a lot of the things I got from her is kind of what I'll do after the other things I'm going to do, but to keep myself from going entirely off topic. So, finished spins. I did finish up the merino bamboo spins that I was doing as a comparison spin, and they turned out looking really quite different. So this is the first braid that I did up, and this is a Opalescence, that's what it is. Opalescence Wearable Arts and Fibers Arts Studio. You can find them on Etsy, and they're the folks who dyed this. So 50/50 merino bamboo. There's no nylon in this. The first rainbow hat I knit up had some nylon in it. I wanted to spin it fine enough to do socks, but that did not happen. So this is the first colorway. This is chain plied. And these braids were a little bit different in weight. So this was about 4.5 ounces. And the other one was about 3.5, so I got a little less of it. So there you can see it. One thing I really liked about her rainbow colorway is that you got yellow, yellow, yellow that was yellow all the way through, yellow, yellow. And there's a little teeny bit of almost orange, but it is a little heavier on the pink in particular. Oops, I'm off center. So there's that, and there's some green in there. So yeah, I did almost get the same yardage, so I must have spun the other finer. I don't know if it's because it's a 3-ply instead of a chain ply, if that just how I did the twist a little different. I am a beginning spinner. I haven't even been spinning for a year, so I'm still working all of that out. So that's the first one. I'm going to make the same hat with both of these, so chain ply. And then this is the same exact colors in a 3.5 ounce braid, and I got almost the same yardage. I think the difference in yardage is actually just maybe like 4 or 5 yards, more of that. So this is what it looks like when you fractal spin it. Isn't that different? The whole thing seems lighter. I did still get an entire section of like yellow, yellow, which I was really happy about. But overall, oops, I'm trying to get it so you can see all the colors in there. It comes across, especially from far away, it just comes across as very blue. With all the colors barber pulled together. So I broke it up into thirds, and I spun to 3 bobbins. And how I fractal spun was, this was described in a way that really made sense to me by Rachel from the Woman Spinning Videocast. That's one of my favorite spinning videocasts. So the first split off the braid I just spun from beginning to end to get one long color gradient, and the second split I split twice, and then I spun those 2 in again to get the color gradient to go through twice, and then the third section I split into 4 skinny pieces and spun those end to end. And that's how you get the colors that don't often all match up at the same point. Let me really, don't focus on me. So you can see the little barber pole stripes in there. And there are pops where it looks more pink. But unless you look at it really up close, you kind of lose a lot of the greens. Overall, it's much more muted. So that's fun, and I'm excited to see them both knit up at hats. I've been reminded that hats are going to be unseasonal here soon. So if I'm knitting things that I want people to buy, maybe I should start knitting something else. So my chair is squeaking, I apologize. So there's stitching ply. The same colorway fractal spun. Way more saturated colors, it seems. Kind of fun. I almost feel obligated to make this into something for like a baby. It's really soft, but it's still wool. Usually I do cotton things for babies, but there you go. So that's a fun project, kind of halfway done. Now on to knitting. So these will probably be the next couple of things I knit up. And the other things, I'm just gonna scoot back. Squeak. Sorry, squeaky chairs. The other thing I've done and haven't talked about really before is planning spinning, what I'm going to spin next, what I've been working on as far as dyeing things. And it is, in my mind, officially the dyeing season. Happy spring. We made it past the solstice, finally. There is still snow on the ground here, but it is melting and patchy, and soon I'll be able to walk around in my backyard. So we've got some sunshine, we're getting rain instead of snow. I'm so relieved. It was just a very long winter this year. And at one point in time, I think we had 4 feet of snow in our backyard, and it just kept snowing. We've had so much snow. The locals keep saying things like we haven't had snow like this since the 90s, or 1990, 91. One of those years was a really intense winter up here. But you drive through town and you see people's sheds which have collapsed. It was a big winter. So in any case, the winter is over. It's officially spring. And so that for me means dye season. So this is what the undyed wool I use looks like. You can tell it's from real sheep. There are little bits of VM, vegetable matter, in there. So this is processed by the same local mill that did the pencil roving for Siri, 13 Mile Mill, I think. And so what pencil roving is and looks like is just, it's a very thin strip. And roving is usually a woolen prepared yarn, so it's yarn for a kind of a loftier yarn. It's not like top. If I had some top here to show you, I would, but the merino bamboo I spun, for example, was top instead of roving, so it's easier to get a worsted yarn, a smoother yarn. Woolen yarns where not all of the fiber is going like straight end to end, see how fluffy it is? You basically end up with a fluffier, loftier yarn, even if you spin in a more woolen style. And right now, like I said and keep saying, I'm a beginning spinner, so I do not have an awful lot of different spinning or draw techniques under my belt. So the way that I usually spin is with a short forward draw. So I am holding my drafting triangle in this hand, and I draft forward, and then I let go and smooth back and pinch and draft forward. Is my little spinning technique, short forward drafts. But I've also been mostly spinning this mystery wool. I don't know the breed of this sheep, which has a fairly short staple. This is the reason why I'm itching my nose, because you see I'm always covered in wool. So end to end, none of the fibers. See? Oh wow, even shorter. Yeah, that's about right. None of the fibers are longer than that. So this is not a long wool by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why. And I dyed my eggs for Ostara and the solstice with onion skins and had leftovers. So I put wool into the pot. So one thing I love to do when I'm doing plant dyeing is gradient dyeing, where I exhaust the pot. I take one of these bumps of fiber, and I should have weighed a full one before I started this video cast so I could tell you about how much is on there. And the first, I just keep dyeing until there's no color left in the dye pot. There's no pigment left in the water. So you get a brighter saturated color when you start, and you end up with a very light color at the end, and then you can do gradients. My favorites are the longer gradients that just slowly fade from one color to another, like you'd get with a Navajo or chain plied yarn. I might insert a photo here at the end of the video cast. I did a dye with hollyhock last year and made a hat out of that. That's like my, so far I consider it my like dyeing, spinning, and knitting opus. And I just used a big long single and knit a really fantastic hat that I don't have anymore. I sold it. So, onions. There you go. This is my onion skin dyed roving. The color that I'm seeing right now on the camera is a bit muted. It isn't that pink, it's more... There we go. Okay. That's what color it actually is. So it's more orangey, kind of almost like onion skins. And this kind of surprised me. Do you remember the yarn that I spun before that I showed you? My first spun yarn? Do I still have it in here? I do. So the first time I dyed with onion skins, this is what I got, which is very different. So I'm experimenting more with different mordants this year. The thing with onion skins is that there is an acid in the onion skins that means you don't actually need to mordant it. There's a chemical in the onion skins that will do it itself. And what a mordant does is that it binds color pigment to the fiber better, more, so it doesn't wash out as much. So if you use a mordant, you usually end up with a more color fast, brighter yarn. So this is onion skin without any additional mordant, just onion skin on its own. And this is more the color I was expecting the first time I dyed. But I was dyeing based off of blogs that I had read, and I smooshed them all together in my brain, and I forgot that you didn't need a mordant to dye with onion skins. So this, really bright, super shiny, is probably a different, no, it might be the same stuff. This is with alum, treated with alum and cream of tartar. And cream of tartar, when you use it in with a mordant to pre-mordant your fiber before you dye it, is kind of like a wool conditioner. It will give wool without a sheen. Sometimes it gives it a sheen. I haven't tried dyeing like a downy breed or a rougher fiber than what I have here, and this stuff isn't like the best. It's not like BFL or anything, but it's pretty nice stuff. So this was my first time around with onion skin. This is my second time around. So possibilities. Lots of possibilities. And I haven't played around with onion skins and iron yet. And I also have been collecting red onion skins, and I haven't used those yet. So these are just brown onion skins. So options. So yeah, there's my orange. And let's do these in order. And I did a gradient, so here's my second orange. And I expected there to kind of be a color between here, but as you can see, there's more fiber in this bump than there is in this bump. Some people who dye and spin are very scientific about it and record everything and weigh everything out and measure, and what can I say? I'm an artist. I should be applying more of the scientific method to my dye experiments, I think, but I'm not quite there yet. Mostly I'm just excited, and I put things in pots and change the colors, and then I'm happy, and I just kind of move on. There's the third step down. Can you see this actually? So there's my gradient, and I thought there, now you can actually tell. Can I hold this all? there it is. There's my gradient. So the last one, there's hardly any color in there at all, but it is definitely kind of a orangier color. So I think I might try and spin this all up in one long single and see my yardage and see maybe if I can get enough for a shawl, a finer weight shawl, and do up a long gradient shawl. So I'm really excited. I have to decide if I want the orange at the top and the white at the bottom, or the white at the top and the orange at the bottom, and if I want to try and find a pattern or just knit a shawl. So that's probably the next thing I'm going to spin, and my first dye project I've shared with you all. Or I did a fiber swap back in December. I talked some about Elizabeth, who sent me the yarn. I showed you some of the hand spun and finished projects from what I made with that hand spun in earlier episodes. That seems strange to say. I think there are only 3 actual episodes total. And so one of the things I did for that fiber exchange was card up got some yellow in there. Don't know where the yellow came from. So I used a drum carder here in the shop, perks of working at the yarn shop, and I carded up some bats. So this is what a bat looks like, if I can get it to stop sticking to itself. So these are pretty thin bats. The drum carder we have here is pretty fine, and I don't actually know if I should have used such a fine drum carder on this particular fiber, especially because the darker teal is heathered mystery yarn, or mystery wool again, and I just carded it up with some mohair with some sparkle in it that probably isn't coming across in that way that things don't tend to come across. So I have a few bats that I maybe went a little crazy and I used more fiber than I thought I would, and so I have a couple of these bats left that I could either spin them on my own, or I could mail to someone or do a trade. I'm not sure on that. So I might do that. And it's spinning Saturday at the shop, so who knows what's going to end up on my wheel. One of those two things. I don't know if I can wait to start spinning the onion skin dyed stuff or not. And I keep feeling like I'm forgetting something. Oh. Sorry guys, I try to have all of my projects out of bags by the time that I get here so you don't have to deal with the crumpling, because I know microphones pick that up more than anything else. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away, like 2 Christmases ago, my sister and I picked out yarn for a hat for my little sister, and it wasn't enough yarn to actually complete the hat. It was almost enough yarn to complete the hat, and then I ordered more, and in the shuffle of moving my office and my house, I misplaced the hat first, and then I misplaced the yarn second, and then I misplaced both of them third, and I have finally found both pieces at the same time. So this is my next accountability project, along with finishing up that dinosaur and the mohair shawl that I still haven't finished. I know, it's such a pain to knit. I'm just going to buy some bamboo needles in the same size and switch over, and then I might finish it. But this has been sitting in a bag for a few seasons, so but this is the hat. I think the pattern is called a snow path, the snow path pattern, maybe. This is with acrylic yarn. I don't know which yarn it is. I don't know which colorway it is. It's just a big long single. And my little sister is a mom of 3, so she just needs a hat she can stick in the wash. That's okay. Acrylic isn't my favorite, but I understand that sometimes you need to be able to just wash your hat and not think about it. So it's got these great braided cables. Is that going to show up? There we go. And seed stitch throughout, and I am so close. I think I did the first round of decreases. But it's supposed to be a little slouchy. And the good news is that the leftover yarn, I might have enough to make a quick pair of little mitts. So we'll see. That's the other one. So it's spring now, right? I'm going to finish this hat. The good news is, don't worry everybody, she hasn't been freezing. I made her a pink hat, and so I know she's been warm. But this is really a good color for her, so I'm going to finish it. I'm going to mail it with the dinosaur. That's my plan. And that pretty much sums it up for me. I've gone a little bit over. I need notes. I'm going to try and keep these around half an hour so they aren't such a huge chunk of your time to devote to watching them all the way through. I know everybody's busy. So that's all for me. So this is the Woolly Witch of the West video cast. You can find me all over the place. All of that information again is below. So thank you for stopping by and seeing what I was up to here at the shop this Saturday. If you are a new viewer, and thank you for coming back and watching another episode. 3 or 4 people, I think, who are return viewers. Please, if you have any questions for me, thoughts, comments, whatever, please feel free to comment below or find me on Ravelry or Instagram, bother me on Facebook, send me a message. I would love to chat with anyone. That's kind of why we're putting this out here. So, there it all is, and I'm gonna knit and fix some stuff up here at the shop. So, have a nice day, guys. We'll see you.